This is Times Radio.
The Times reports today that landmark reforms that will allow spouses to divorce without one side being forced to accept blame for the breakdown of a marriage will take effect tomorrow. Thousands of couples are expected to flood a new online divorce portal that's been launched by the Ministry of Justice, as they've held off taking action until the more liberal regime became law. Let's speak this evening to Rita Gupta, founder and managing director of Gupta Family Lawyers. Rita, good evening.
Good evening, Calum.
Gosh, does it sound to you like divorce is becoming far too easy?
No, not at all. And actually, it's been very interesting listening to the media's response to the new divorce laws, because as family lawyers, this is something that we've campaigned for many years, as has our leading organisation, Resolution. The thinking behind these new divorce laws are not to undermine the sanctity of marriage and make it so that you can have a quickie divorce. It's not designed to make parties rush to get a divorce and not take their marriage vows seriously. And as I said, it's very interesting to see the response to these new laws. The thinking behind it was to ensure that when parties separate, that there isn't this huge sense of acrimony, particularly when there are children, and that the welfare of those children is always paramount, and that in the breakdown of this process, that parties are not damaged and the pain is not extended unnecessarily. So, it isn't designed to be a quickie online divorce. I would say that that's a really important point. You still do actually have to be married for 12 months before you can issue a divorce application. It just means that you don't have to blame somebody for the process.
OK, so it does get called the kind of no-fault system, doesn't it? And it has been delayed for a long time. Why has that been?
And I think we've had lots of issues relating to that in the world, and particularly perhaps the pandemic for the last 2 years. But I think this issue about, the sanctity of marriage and finding a process that not only brings the divorce laws up to date with changing attitudes in society to divorce, but also not undermining that institution. I mean, the terminology is changing too, Calum. What we're not doing is calling it a divorce petition anymore. It's the divorce application. We're moving away from words such as decree absolute to a final order. And the whole idea is just to make the process just less acrimonious for parties, but not necessarily easier or quicker. I mean, there is actually a 6-month minimum period. I don't know if you're aware of that. And built into that is 20 weeks of reflection period. So during that time, if, for example, parties have changed their mind and want to attempt reconciliation, they can do so. Or people can use that time to work on their financial settlement or the child arrangements that they want to make. But it definitely is something that as family lawyers, we feel in the long run benefits separating parties.
It's really fascinating, isn't it, how all of these things apply and how they play out. In your own experience, Rita, is it almost without doubt that a divorce up till perhaps now or up until tomorrow has simply been acrimonious, and that is just what everyone has to expect in that situation?
No, not at all. There are parties, in fact, who, you see that didn't want to actually allocate any blame. And that's why I think there will actually be a spike in the divorce rates, because many people, as you've said, have been waiting for this. People perhaps who've fallen out of love but have an immense amount of respect and regard for each other are waiting for these new changes. Not all divorce to be acrimonious, but there are things that we can do to guide parties better through the process. But these new laws, they're not going to take away the human emotion of heartbreak, distress, anger, frustration. They're not going to fix all of that. And I think one of the concerns I have, and it's linked to an article that I wrote for the Law Society, was that I am concerned that for many people, they will feel that perhaps they haven't had a chance to tell their side of the story. As a family lawyer, I know that that's not going to impact their financial settlement, and in the long run, it's not going to impact anything of significance. But for people, they may feel as though they haven't had a chance to really say that they've been wronged or what has happened in their marriage.
Yeah. Rita, really appreciate your expertise. Many thanks. Thanks for being on the programme.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thanks. That's Rita Gupta, founder and managing director of Gupta Family Lawyers.